We're back, and in this new episode of the Grumpy Gits, we take a look at the concept of sensitivity editing, with the news that Roald Dahl books are to be revised for the next generation of readers. Is this PC gone mad, or are we preserving classic literature for future generations? We talk to disability campaigner and media mainstay Shani Dhanda about disability representation in the media. Is enough being done to accurately portray and represent disability on TV and in general? All this and your usual favourites, including See You Next Tuesday, and we hear from our friends at Disability Expo. So strap in for a roller coaster ride of banter, laughs and thought-provoking discussion, and remember, don't be grumpy alone.
Good morning, good afternoon and good evening wherever in the world you are watching this, and welcome to another fantastic episode of the Grumpy Gits. I am your glorious host, Adam Pearson, also known as the Thinking Man's Tommy Fury, and I'll be leading you through this cavalcade of mayhem and mystery, joined as always by my three partners in crime. Up first, he's my favourite. He's got a second name. I learned it the hard way. Chris Lee Smith, how are you doing?
In general, I'm fantastic. I'm going to the gym a lot. I've lost loads of weight and I'm feeling great. But before we start messing about, Duncan, I'm going to tell you, right?
Pigs.
You know how fate sometimes throws an unbelievable curveball at me, and I bring it onto the podcast when you introduce me. Well, this one was horrible. It actually started in this office on Saturday. I saw some mouse droppings on my desk, which isn't rare here because I live out in the sticks and they occasionally come in. So I had a humane mouse trap. So I put it down on Saturday night. Sunday morning comes around and I come into the office and there's this cute, tiny mouse. And I mean, all its features were exaggerated. It was like Disney in a trap. And it was just looking, these huge eyes, this big face, and these tiny legs. And the kids, as usual, they were kind of like, oh, can we keep it as a pet? And I was like, no, it's cruel. It's cruel. And I don't want a mouse in the house anyway. But I look on the internet because stupidly, the last time I caught a mouse, I let it out in the back garden, which means he'd just come back in. So I looked on the internet. It says you're supposed to drive about a mile down the road. I get in the car, put the mouse trap with him in it in the passenger seat. And I'm going along. I know this sounds silly, but I was talking to the mouse, right? And I was...
What did you say?
My words were, because he was looking at me and he was looking worried, right? And I said, don't worry, I'm going to take you to a nice, safe field. Those were my very words, right? So there's a scout hut about a mile up the road. So I was thinking, actually, that's a good place. I can park up. No one's going to be there. And there's woods behind it. Brilliant.
So the scout's still with it.
No. So I pull into the car park and I'm looking at this mouse and I'm like, right, let's go. I walk onto the grass and I swear to God, right, I opened the mouse trap and he scurries out and he takes about 3 hops, which is about a meter away. He turns with his big eyes, right? And he looks at me and I was like, go on. He starts hopping and this fucking magpie comes down. I'm not kidding. It was the most horrifying thing. It squealed and it might as well have said, you murdered me and you put me in torture for the last 12 hours. I mean, I was standing there and my mouth was just wide open. I wanted to kill that magpie. It was horrific.
Wow. That's
Everyone's going to
that
top
is not
that.
how I was expecting to open this episode. Was you telling me how you're essentially Jigsaw for mice?
It was horrible. One of the most horrifying things I've ever seen. I haven't told the kids either.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll tell them.
Have you ever watched the show Outnumbered?
No, I haven't.
It's brilliant. And there's an episode where they trap a mouse and the daughter, it's a brilliant show. The kids basically improvise everything. Nothing's written. You need to achieve this by the end of the scene kind of thing. And the kids just say what they're going to say and they work it into the script, if you like. But this kid, he's just angry at the mum because she's killed the mouse that's living under the floorboards. And there's just a scene where she's burying the mouse. She's having like a mouse funeral in the garden, and she's got this cheese sandwich, and she just hands this cheese sandwich over and goes, "Here's a cheese sandwich for your journey to heaven. If you go to hell, at least you'll have a cheese toasty," and just carries on. It just reminds me of that.
And also joining us, because I'm moving the hell on from murder, Duncan Cameron. How are you, good sir?
I'm well. I'm at the end of my tether with decorating now. We've been trying to do the upstairs of the house, and it's just dragged on and on and on and on, and I'm ready to just, let's get this over with, finish it, and just move on with life. I'm never decorating again.
How many mammals have died in this decorating of the house?
None so far, but there's a severe risk that 2 kids might.
So right now your death count is lower than Chris.
Yeah,
It could go up, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's pretty much where my life lives. I'm always at a lower death count than Chris, but it's a chance it could change at any moment.
I just kill again, so you never catch it. Competition for me.
Good to see the meds are working. Excellent. And finally, he's lively, he's energetic, you might say he's animated, coming to us live from his place in Spain. I didn't know he had one. Simon Sampson, how's it going? Well, men, if it's okay with you, I thought I'd open with a joke. Try and be funny. Is that okay? Chris, can I open with a joke?
I want funny Simon. We haven't had him for a long time.
It's your funeral, mate. Go your boots.
Okay, here we go. What's Peter Pan's favourite place to eat out?
Oh, I
Wendy's.
didn't hear this.
Oh.
Jesus, Simon.
That's shocking.
You know.
It only could come from Simon.
Simon needs his hard drive checking. He really does.
Yeah.
Did I do good? Have I done the funny properly?
No.
Don't ever try that again.
I am shocked and appalled. I, for one, am shocked and appalled. Duncan, are you equally shocked and appalled?
No more than usual with Simon, but shocked and appalled nonetheless.
What about you, Chris? I mean, I'm used to it off there, but to bring that into our house, I find unacceptable.
Like I said, he should be on a register.
Okay, well, then we'll move on to our regularly occurring segment. See you next Tuesday! Duncan Cameron, going to throw to you first. How are you going to get us arguing?
What if you were to stumble across a lantern in a desert, somewhere like that? You gave it a rub, and out pops a genie. And the genie says you've got 3 wishes, but the limitation is they can only be that you remove a personal character trait from one of the grumpy Gits. What are you going to spend your 3 wishes removing?
I would make Chris less either cynical or murderous of the rodent population.
Thank you, mate.
Rodenticide has got to stop.
That means a lot to me.
I would remove Simon's continuous name dropping.
He never have anything left to say. You basically saying I'm going to mute Simon.
I think he said enough this episode, don't you? It was funny. Leave me alone. I tried, damn it.
He turned American near the end. I didn't know he could do an American accent.
Maybe it's Canadian.
It's absolutely Canadian.
Oh, God.
And I would remove Duncan's seething rage at decorating.
I'd like that.
That's quite a nice one.
Yeah.
I've done all right, haven't I?
Yeah,
I've come back from what Simon said earlier.
We've got
which again, unacceptable.
What about you, Chris?
I think Simon's narcissism, Adam's issue with penis size.
Oh,
You're just going to grant him a decent sized penis. Is that what you're saying?
How many episodes has this gone now? This has got to be the longest running joke.
Such a good one, though. Duncan always banging on about music that I know nothing about.
You just need to educate yourself.
I don't want to be educated in it.
I'm sorry, you really do.
You do.
This is like
It's
me
great music.
learning Japanese
Aw.
and then constantly forcing the Japanese language on you.
No, it's not.
It is.
Yes. Or
You have no
Harder,
interest
as it
in the
was known.
Japanese language. I have no interest in the music.
Clearly, music being the
I
operative
was
word.
like way nicer to you, Duncan. I was going to be like, I'd make him less proud of one of his kids, but I'd let him pick what one.
Here we go. Someone's trying to make allies here. I was nicer to you, Duncan. Shall I do my question?
Let's hear it.
We all get tortured for information that will make us all flat broke. From 1 to 4, name who breaks first and last and why. Let's go with Adam.
It depends how they decide to talk to us. Because if they say to Simon, or tell us the info, or we'll break your legs, rock and roll. No,
It's
got a feeling on
exactly
that
what
one.
you've stolen my line. I was going to say they can beat his legs all they like. It's not going to make any difference.
Let's say it's our no, I was going to say it's our worst form of torture, but let's say it's pulling out our fingernails and our teeth and whatever. Who can endure that physical pain that doesn't involve a lack of feeling in the legs?
Simon is absolutely breaking first.
What have you got to say to that, Simon?
When I was last with Graham Cole, he tortured me for my real opinions on the bill, and I mean I love the bill, but you know, banter with the lads and all that. I held up like a boss. He slowly but surely just threw money away in front of me, and I was like, in my heart, I was like, "What are you doing?" But I stone faced it and was like, "This is fine. This is all fine." And then he made me watch Hannah Montana the movie over and over and over. But the fucking joke's on you, Graham. I love Hannah Montana. Do the hoedown, throwdown, zigzag across the floor, shuffle in diagonal. When the drum hits hands on your hips, 130, 180 twist. Yeah.
I'm going to say I miss him, but this is like the real thing. Okay, Duncan, you next. Oh, sorry, no. You haven't answered the full question, Adam. Who's breaking first and who's breaking last, and why?
Oh, I reckon Simon's breaking first. I reckon Duncan will break after Simon. Then I reckon I would break before you, because I reckon your sheer belligerence will carry you through. I reckon you'll see it as a competition rather than a survival thing.
Well, I haven't got any money anyway, so I mean, why would I break last?
Just to say you beat the three of us.
I know, but I like my fingernails. Just
They'll grow
fleshy
back.
stalks on my hand with no nails. No, maybe, but we won't know. Duncan, what's your answer?
Simon's breaking first purely because genuinely he doesn't give a crap. He'd be like, "Yep, off they go." This is a man who quite willingly admits he'd happily punch a child every day for the rest of his life to kill world hunger.
Oh, that was
he'd
weird,
happily
wasn't
just sell us down the path. It's like, yeah, that's not going to happen.
Ugh.
He's going first. I don't know if Adam or I were. I think we crack about the same time, me and Adam. There'd be a desire to, no, I'm going to be loyal. I'm going to be honourable to my friends. And then the first fingernail comes off and you're like, fuck it, no.
I didn't expect the pain to be this bad.
It's just, oh shit, this was real? Really?
We can make more money.
I thought you were joking. And I agree with Adam. You'd be belligerently last just because you'd be like, no, fuck you. I don't care who it is. You'd be like, no, you're not breaking me. And you would get into it. Wouldn't be a competition with us. It'd be a competition with yourself.
Okay. That doesn't end well for me. Because I'm going through the whole thing.
Yeah. When you come out with stubs for fingers and you'll be like, oh, one. That's all that will matter.
All right, I'll take that. It doesn't feel like a compliment, but yeah, I'll take it.
This is mainly aimed at you two, so Simon can weigh in if he wants to. What's the biggest lie you've ever told one of your children?
Oh,
you know, I had to do one today. My son's got an ear infection. You got to spray that crap in his ear. He was like, is it going to hurt? No, it's not going to hurt. Knowing in my head, you're going to fucking hate it. But you can't tell them that because then you're never going to get it in there. So you line up the treats first. Here you go. Once you've done it, these are yours. Not until you've done it. It's horrible. I think you have to tell a myriad of tiny lies to kids because you have to get them through life. I mean, the biggest one's got to be Santa, surely. Not that I'm saying Santa's not real. That's not what I'm saying.
Hi, Curtis.
Because he'll watch this.
He's a because I let him watch
Torture,
this. Yeah.
killing mice. Yeah, he's well into this.
You found the last episode fascinating.
For me, I think Duncan's right. It's all little lies, but I mean, the one that stands out for me, we went to the beach, and I think they were 3 and 5, and I said to them, if they run off too far, then the seagulls will pick you up and take you away, and that worked.
Like a mouse.
Like a mice, yeah.
Alexa, add Birds by Alfred Hitchcock to
Yeah.
I think we should ask Simon, but I think you've got to adjust the question because it's nephews and nieces, isn't it?
Well, I tell all my nephews and nieces that I have a favourite, but I refuse to tell them who it is. When in actual fact, I hate them all equally.
Is that why you're such a prick at Christmas?
They'll never have my love.
He's pushing it tonight, isn't he?
He really is. He's given some home truths that I wasn't expecting.
A side of Simon we haven't seen.
Simon, you do know we're recording, don't you?
Yep.
I didn't expect him to be this brave, to be honest.
Really?
I think he wins the torture thing with how
We're
brave
back
he
to no
is.
regret.
Say what you mean what you say.
All these revelations. It's unbelievable. What a hero.
Simon Sanson, hero.
And that brings us to the end. Mercifully, we'll see you next Tuesday. Gentlemen, I don't know how abreast we are of this. How much Roald Dahl did we all read growing up? I was a massive fan.
All of them.
Matilda, The Twits, George's Marvelous Medicine, The Magic Finger,
James and the
Fantastic
Giant
Mr.
Peach.
Fox. I had them all in paper and all on audio tape. I tore through Roald Dahl like a fat kid in a sweet shop. Oh no, wait! I can't say that anymore. And now it's all being censored. They've hired sensitivity readers. That's a thing. So just tear through Roald Dahl's work, like remove and replace certain things. Like Mrs. Twit's no longer frightfully ugly. She's just ugly. Augustus Gloop isn't that anymore. The Oompa Loompas are non-binary. And it all feels like that little step too far. And also bearing in mind that I don't think these sensitivity readers are the same people that are reading Roald Dahl. So my question is, do you think we've gone too far? Could we have handled it differently? And when will this madness end?
I guess we've got your opinion from that end.
How to answer the question with the question.
In a certain tone as well. I like that.
I'm flummoxed on this one. I was initially, when I first read it, I was like, no, this is wrong. And I was really up in arms. Well, in my head, I was up in arms and ready to take to the streets with protest signs. Then what happened is yesterday I read an article which was talking about them doing the same to Ian Fleming's Bond novels. And I was like, actually, I kind of agree with that because there's a lot of racial insensitivity in there. So I kind of agree with that, but I don't consider Bond novels to be classic literature. The only reason anyone likes Bond novels is because they've seen the films. They love that side of it. Let's not get into that. That's a whole nother debate. It's that thing of if we're going to censor one thing or we're going to change one thing to be more appropriate. I'll be honest here. I struggle with my weight. Everyone, anyone who watches this probably knows that. I am a big bloke and I spend my life on one diet or another trying to lose weight and had a good few months and I'm actually losing weight at the moment. I feel good. But it stings a bit when you hear the word fat. It does. It's used with an insulting tone in general. It was fucking horrible at school. It was the first thing anyone would pick on would be instinct to go for the thing that's going to crush you the most, and they'll do it in a snap second, and they've got no chip that says don't do that, and they just go for it. That's what I used to get. Even though I wasn't huge back then, it was just a thing of I was bigger than other kids. So I think there's an argument there to be had that says we should be more sensitive to this stuff. And if we're encouraging kids to look at fat, or we're encouraging kids to look at ugly and stuff like that, like it's a conversation I've been having with my kids lately. Is, you don't look at people as ugly or not ugly. How would you feel if someone was to talk to you that way? And so I can kind of see the purpose behind it, but there's a side of it too that it's classic literature. This is how do we have the right to change what was there, or should it remain a testament to this is what it was like at the time? But if we do that, do we then run the risk of losing those stories because they become inappropriate?
It's a good point, but you can't miss what you've never had. We're thinking of it after reading all of this literature. Those pictures that appeared in your mind as you read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or James and the Giant Peach, or Matilda, all of these, and those pictures vividly appeared in your mind. We're coming from the point of view that they're taking it away. But for a child who reads that again, they will still have that magic that we had before. I don't think it's a particularly big deal, not for me. And I do think that we are moving as a society towards that, where we're taking out not offensive language, but more along what leads to it. I honestly think it's a good thing. I'm not stuck in my ways. I'd like to see progress, and I'm sure that Roald Dahl's estate actually greenlit this.
So, with that being said, then my question is, where does it end? But also, I taken up on the historical point. Ian Fleming Bond books, yeah, a little bit racist. But then, when we talk about historical racism, if we're forever changing things, what does our frame of reference then become?
I don't think it changes history. I think it changes what we're reading now. But I think Roald Dahl's original work will still be remembered while the new stuff exists and is being read to millions of kids. But I think in terms of a lesson, it will go down as kind of history. This is when it happened. This is how it happened. This was the reason why. I just see it as progress.
The author Philip Pullman said that why not just let them go out of print? Why not just stop printing them, let the current copies sell out, and be done with it all? What are your thoughts on that, Chris?
What are they actually recalling the originals then, or
no?
It's still an issue because they've wanted to change it, and like I said, it was in my eyes it's progress, but they have to do it now. You can't just let it all go out there and in their eyes carry on with the problem that's there. Change it straight away. I don't see the issue with that.
I think what Philip Pullman's done there is very effectively made the point that's actually really what Chris is getting at. I think what he was doing was saying, well, just let them go to print and we lose it forever. Whereas if we make these changes now, then these stories can carry on being told to future generations without it being offensive in the way that it could be perceived.
Devil's advocate here, isn't that the right way? Is offence paused, not taken? And I didn't read The Enormous Crocodile and then instantly go, fucking crocodiles. Always the crocodile.
That's kind of going into Ricky Gervais terrain, though, isn't it? He says that any joke should be allowed. But I say this because I'm a huge Ricky Gervais fan, but I do think there's fault in that because he says that you can tell jokes and whatever, but it's well known that he loves his cat Ollie more than anything in the world, right? That cat died horrifically in a car accident, mowed down, split in two. It was traumatic. And he went to see
mate? Are you like dead animals are like your thing in this episode, aren't you?
No, it's coming to a point.
Okay.
But if that happened to his beloved cat Ollie, and he went and seen a show, and that comedian kind of knew it was going to be offensive and told that joke anyway, how would Ricky feel? Would he kind of laugh it off? Oh, he's telling a joke about a cat. He wouldn't be able to deal with his own trauma of seeing that to a thing he loves the most So it's kind of the perspective of comedy, but he doesn't get somebody else's perspective. He sees it from his own. And for the majority of people, that's fine. But there's certain people out there that would find it horrific. Rape jokes. I mean, that shouldn't be allowed. But apparently in his world, it's, well, you can joke about anything. The Holocaust, I'm not saying he's made jokes about that, but it's fallen into the same realms again. So where's the line?
When you look back at
Could I chime in here, please, with the rape? No, Simon, no, you can't. You cannot fucking chime in at this point of the conversation.
Don't make a joke.
Okay, I'll be quiet. Good. I don't know if your kids read Roald Dahl.
Yes,
Gentlemen.
This is the thing I get. We recently went and saw Matilda, the musical, at the cinema. I hate musicals at the best of times, but it was really well done, and it told the story. And I'm a fan of the original film as well, the Danny DeVito version.
Yes, me too.
So I kind of went in thinking this is going to be shit because it's not that version, and I was actually pleasantly surprised. Except for the music, I was pleasantly surprised. It was quite palatable. But that's the thing. My son loves Fantastic Mr. My son loves Fantastic Mr. Fox, and he's loved reading the twits and stuff like that. And I think there's a chance to educate in that. So when it makes those references to ugly, it's not a very nice way to describe her, isn't it? If we bring that in, we're kind of explaining, it's not a nice way to describe someone, is it? You can educate through it. It's just a real challenge. I think the problem for me is that the Roald Dahl books aren't the world's most offensive books.
They are very popular.
That's a thing in itself, isn't it?
But you use it as a teaching opportunity. I would. How many parents wouldn't?
This is true, I suppose.
That's the issue. I mean, we can cover our own backs, and there's good parents out there that would use that as an opportunity and say that you shouldn't call them fat, or you shouldn't call them ugly or whatever. But there's so many kids out there that would see that as an offensive term that they could use as a weapon and take it elsewhere.
Are we not going to do that anyway?
It's one less bullet. That's what it is.
True. But then are we not just using Roald Dahl as a scapegoat for Kitty Kid?
I don't think scapegoat's the right term, though, because it's not as if he's getting cancelled. It's changing a few words that, like I said, are bullets for kids to use as a weapon. It falls into bullying, to be honest. These terms that they're removing, to a certain extent, are used predominantly in bullying.
This happened with Enid Blyton, didn't it?
Yeah.
And this is something, I think we forget that this isn't something that's new. We've had this before. The Noddy books were heavily changed and edited on the basis of perceived racism. I generally don't think Enid Blyton meant it to be offensive or racist in the way that the books were written. But the changes that have been made have allowed her stories to live on, where now you couldn't have those stories. And I wonder if it's that same scenario playing out, that what they're doing is preemptively taking it that we want these stories to live on. I'm playing devil's advocate here because there's a part of me that really doesn't like it. But there's a part of me that says I actually can see it. And I think this is the point Philip Pullman was coming to, is that if we want these stories to live on, we want to take them all out of print and it dies, or we can make some changes and they can live on forward. Chris is kind of bringing me around to his way of thinking in a way, because I can kind of see that I'd rather these stories lived on because they're amazing stories.
Yeah. Well, because it's also happened with Thomas the Tank Engine. The man that used to be called the Fat Controller is now called Sir Topham Hatt.
Maybe that's the point I miss when I hear this stuff, because I see it as an adult. I see it as somebody who can perceive this and go, this was written in however long ago, where these things weren't offensive and whatever else. And I can kind of make adaptations in my head. We've got to remember, these are stories that are being read to kids.
Yes, I'm not the demo, right?
Yeah, exactly that. They're being read to kids. And I would hate for my kids to read a story by something that I love, which, Roald Dahl stories I love, and for them to take that as an excuse to say, well, that's okay then, because I can use these terms and go and torture somebody else with them. That would kill me inside.
So, but again, where's the line there? You mentioned your son likes Fantastic Mr. Fox. Is he now robbing from farmers on the regular? I sincerely doubt it.
I don't think there's a line, so to speak. I think these have to be treated as individual cases. And we always say, where's the line? Where do we go up to? But there is no line. It's that we have a case that comes forward, we judge what we need to do, and we do it. But there's no universal line where we go, oh, that's okay, that isn't, that's over the line, that isn't. That doesn't exist.
Do we start editing Charlotte Bronte because it permeates traditional stereotypes of women?
As
Another
a
individual
straight white
case.
man, I'm going nowhere near that one. I have this one, lads. No, you don't, Simon. No, you don't.
We need to find some Victorian women we can interview on this.
Mom! No, I'm joking. Edit that out. For the love of Christ, edit that out.
Was that Simon or was that Adam?
That was me calling my mum. Simon dare not say that to his mum because, as we all know, she beat his ass. He said it, not me. Don't you shoot the mailman for bringing you a gas bill.
On that, Simon, did your aunt get back to you? Did you get the text?
No. It turns out he was merely lying to bolster my ego. Like my ego needs bolstering, idiot. By the power of Grayskull, I am Canadian.
When I think Canadian, He-Man's what comes to
No, but it fit.
I don't get it either.
He can talk all the nonsense, and it just reflects on him. That's it. It's amazing.
So I think I'm slowly being talked around here.
Yeah, I found that. I found myself talking myself around as we talked.
Yeah, right. Because I'm normally really sort of like anti-censorship, anti-cancel culture, and I'm very much, if you find Roald Dahl books offensive, don't read Roald Dahl books. I find boy bands offensive. The only Westlife gigs I've been to, none.
How often does Boyzone pop up on my playlist? Never, because I never put it on there.
Exactly. And if it ever winds up on there, I'm lining all my family against the wall, and until someone confesses, going all Chris Lee Smith mouse on them.
Inviting magpies into murder. Yeah.
We call it a murderer crows for a reason.
Time now to hand over to our friends at Disability Expo, our wonderful sponsors, to find out what are the happy haps and what's going down.
One of the most important aspects of Disability Expo is empowering people with a disability to have their voice heard on the issues that matter to them. The People's Panel is a forum-style theatre where pressing topics will be discussed by influential and knowledgeable panellists, as well as providing a safe space for our delegates to join the conversation and share their unique experiences. A key topic we will be discussing is disability representation in the media. Let's hear from some of our panellists on why this is such an important conversation for us to have.
Hi, I'm Roxy Murray. I am a sex and body positive MS disability activist. I am passionate about better disability representation in media because I believe there is not enough of it. I believe it is necessary and needed for disabled people to be able to see themselves on TV and media overall. This is both empowering and beautiful, to be able to share our stories and for the wider world to hear from our unique experiences.
Hi, it's Nate Williams here. I'm the founder and chair of the Ability Group in Sport, the first disabled network in the UK for sports media professionals. I'm excited to be here and I'm passionate about this topic because there's been an increase in disabled people working in the sports media like myself for 12 years, and I just can't wait to see more people come through and progress in this industry.
Also appearing on our People's Panel is presenter, journalist and DJ Jordan Jarrett Bryan. He said, "I'm really looking forward to attending the Disability Expo. These events are so important in making sure people with disabilities are heard and empowered to gain their rights, be it in the workplace or everyday life. I'm looking forward to listening to the ideas from the panel and audience and working out how we can progress as a community. I firmly believe people with disabilities are not taken as seriously as others, and it's an injustice. We bring huge economic and personal value to society, and it's about time we stopped asking for respect and take it." A diverse range of topics and panellists have been selected, and we will engage with Disability Expo community to shape the conversations we have on the day. Beyond this two-day event, we want to take forward the issues raised and campaign for real change. So register your free ticket to Disability Expo and be part of the movement.
So there we have it, gentlemen, the People's Panel. Disabled experts in all different fields and industries, wading in with opinions to affect policy to drive forward positive change. Obvious question, but I'm paid to ask it. Is this a good thing or a bad thing?
Are we asking Simon?
I think he said enough this episode. I invented the panel.
Got to pattern it, did he?
Yeah.
But I do think it's an amazing thing, and again, it speaks volumes because this isn't just a show. This is a movement trying to actually create change.
But genuinely, we picked to work with Disability Expo because of this kind of stuff. It's not just about the event. It's actually about the social impact that we can make beyond that. They really believe this, and that the whole I Matter movement is behind, is exactly what that's about. They really want to use this as a platform to make change, to make the world a better place for everybody.
Do you know what's weird and strange about it, though? The way we talk about them, they are passionate about what they do. People are going to meet them anyway, and they will realise. You'd think that this is all they talk about. They're such a laugh. They're great people as well. When you get to speak to them, they're just funny, amazing people.
Great people. Yeah.
They're our mates, and they are real people. And I think often when you hear of expos, conventions, yada yada yada, your mind jumps to kind of stiffs in suit on a soapbox rather than having a discussion and welcoming you in. And it's the exact opposite of that with Disability Expo. They're great people. And we all said at the start that if we're doing this for our own gratification, then we need to stop doing it straight away. So if we do this and it makes a difference, that even just one person, then it's time worth investing. We're not here to flex or become famous or make a name for ourselves. We're here to make the world a better place. I'm completely here to make a name for myself, actually.
Anything to say, Simon? No? Good.
No, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for the money. One of the areas that will be discussed on the People's Panel is the idea of media, the arts, and disability representation, which is something that I, as well as our next guest, Shani Dhanda, have dabbled in a lot, because historically it has not been great. Way back in the way back, disability was used as a trope for either victimhood, villainy, or false heroism. It'd be these awful Channel 5 shock docs, like the boy with a shock for an arm, or that kind of nonsense. And it will be highly medical, highly sensationalized, and not really certainly how I would want to be represented. So I do a lot of work on evening that out and trying to almost take back control and control the narrative. The old adage, nothing about us without us. And I think the way that we often wind up in circumstances like that is that decisions are made, ideas are generated, and stories are told about disabled people, but not for disabled people or by disabled people. And I think slowly but surely that is happening. We're seeing more disabled actors on the telly where disability is incidental. We're seeing more disabled people on the news. But by the same token, I don't think that means we can now rest upon our laurels. I still think there's a long way to go. And I think with people like the wonderful Shani, who we're about to talk to, we'll get there. So, without further ado, Chris Lee Smith, Duncan Casburn, I give you Shani Dhanda.
Hi, Adam. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Shani, and thank you for being on. It's such a pleasure to have you.
It's great to be here.
I think probably a good idea is to start with, who you are and what it is that you actually do.
I'm a very proud Brummie. I have to start with that, but I live in London. I have a short stature as a result of the condition that I was born with. And I'm also a South Asian woman. So I experience the world in a really unique way.
Kind of a minority within a minority within a minority in the UK.
As you can imagine, we're always told that, the more marginalized you are, the more difficult your life is. And I just didn't want that for me. Actually, all the things that make me who I am, they're bloody brilliant. Like, it's so cool being me, and I really love it. And I'm sick of this narrative like that. If you're a person of color, or if you're a woman, or if you live with a condition and impairment, then it's all doom and gloom. So I'm on a bit of a mission to change that, but also just to make the world that we live in more accessible and fairer for everybody. So how I do that is, as a consultant, I work with companies and organizations to help them to become more inclusive. I'm also a social entrepreneur. So I'm launching an app to help disabled people save money, because as we all probably know, life costs a lot more when you live in an
It
inaccessible
does.
society.
I have a running joke with Tigger Pritchard's a guy I
Okay.
do a lot of work with, and we do a podcast together. And we had a running joke of, it started on the Grumpy Dads when Chris and I interviewed him and did a thing with him. And he uses blue tack as a sensory tool, as like a stimming aid, sort of socially acceptable. And we came up with the idea that we need to release sensory blue tack, which is basically exactly the same product but costs 3 times as much,
Yeah.
because we got the word sensory on there.
You've hit the nail on the head there. That's what absolutely happened. I have an article out today in the Metro, and I added up all my extra costs last year. Does anyone want to take a guess at how much they were?
I'm guessing 15, 20,000.
Not far off.
Oh,
Chris?
£20,001.
So it was just under 13,000. Well, no, just over £13,000.
That's unbelievable, isn't it?
That's crazy.
So I was at uni when they had this idea. I was like, well, if students can get a discount, why can't we as disabled people? I just don't think it's fair that disabled people have to pay more to try and live the same lives as others, but they have less or no choice. I really struggled to get investors. Everyone kept telling me that my idea wasn't a business and it's a charity, because that's how people view disability. I got investors, then I lost them all when the pandemic hit. So then I had to start again, scrape myself back up off the floor. And now, hopefully, this year, I will be able to launch and tackle the root cause of the issue, which is to help disabled people reduce their outgoings.
I'm going to ask straight out then, if anyone wants to be involved with that, how can they get in touch with you to do so? Because I think there's people probably watching who think, love the idea. Yeah. We want to invest. We want to be part of this. How can they do so?
Please contact me at hello@shanidhanda.com. And if there's other people out there that have got contacts with retailers, please hook me up. I'm also a broadcaster, so you can find me on shows such as Rip Off Britain, Loose Women, Jeremy Vine on 5. Everything that I do is all about trying to increase accurate portrayal of disabled people and some of the communities that I belong to, like, being a South Asian woman. We don't see many of them on TV either. But I'm also really passionate about intersectionality, because I'm really sick of this narrative that we're all marginalized. We're not. We're over excluded. How can nearly 15 million people be underrepresented?
Have you ever seen the film Bug's Life?
Yeah.
He makes the point. The ants outnumber them like 100 to 1. And if they ever work that out, there's no stopping them. And I feel like it's the same for this community, these, what you say, marginalized communities. If they actually just put differences aside and went, you know what, if we stuck together and did something, there's no stopping us.
We had this conversation actually a couple of days ago. And I think the reason being is that money's involved. And that's the reason why. For the disabled community to use the way that able-bodied do, it would cost a fortune. And I think that's why the reluctance and the exclusion comes in. There's something behind where they're fighting against exclusion because it will hit their bottom line.
I tell people that this is an investment because accessibility benefits everybody. I was at an event a couple of months ago with Sadiq Khan, and I just stuck it on him. I said I would never have moved to London if I'd have ever known it would be this difficult to live here. He said, when I started to put lifts in the tube stations, I thought I was doing it to help, people with mobility challenges and disabled people. And he said, but actually, I got the vote of loads of parents because they could use it for their pushchairs. People going to the airport with their luggage. And I was like, okay, so you get it. So there are people now that out there that understand accessibility benefits everybody. And when we talk about the purple pound, the spending power of disabled people is worth £274 billion to the UK economy. Anyone in business is listening to this, like, you're in business to make money. Why would you not want to serve disabled consumers? I can't tell you how soul destroying it has been for me when people have said to me, you only got that job because you're disabled.
Oh, are they kind of saying it's tokenism?
Yeah. Oh my God. It's soul destroying because
they say you haven't got the talent for one.
The workforce, like, I had to apply for over 100 jobs before removing any mention of my condition or impairment, and then I got an interview straight away. I've worked my ass off for everything to get to where I am. Let's be really honest, that there's a million disabled people that can and want to work right now, but because of the stigma that exists in employing disabled people, sadly they're probably gonna fall into poverty. And how do you get out of poverty? It's based on your capability to work. So it's this horrible, vicious cycle that keeps going round and around and around. And then layer on top of that everyone thinks the government gives you everything. And if you're disabled, everyone thinks you're rolling in it. But of course, that couldn't be further from the truth.
So why do you think that people don't hire disabled people?
Let's talk about the representation of disabled people. Like, on screen, we usually see disabled people only talking about disability issues. And that, for me, myself as a broadcaster, I'm really trying hard to not get pigeonholed into that. But equally, I'm very aware of the fact that we never see disabled people of colour on our screens either. So I'm always torn between saying yes to those opportunities that include disability, because we also need that representation. But I'm also struggling also not to get pigeonholed into only talking about disability. We barely see any disabled people. We barely see accurate portrayal of disabled people and our lives. Personally, my opinion is the perception of disability in the UK is that everyone thinks you're a benefit cheat, or everyone thinks you just want to be a Paralympian. And if you think about, like, why? Because those are the stories that we see.
My wife watches Silent Witness, and so that means I watch Silent Witness. But there's something I've loved about the way they've gone about representation, and it's something we talked about this on the show a few weeks ago about The Apprentice, when they did their inclusivity film things that they were doing, and it was just so in your face. This person has a wheelchair, therefore they can't climb a side, and sad face. So it was just really cringe. The opposite is like what Silent Witness do, where they've had wheelchair users. They currently have a deaf person is one of the key characters in it, but they don't make a big deal about it. They sign and they communicate.
Yeah.
It feels like so often in media, it's like, and here's our gay representative, and here's our person of color representative, and here's our disabled representative, and they string all this together. It feels very forced and very pushed. I like that in Silent Witness, it's very much, this is just a person who they are.
Are they trying to ask for a tap on the back for including a minority? Here's our gay person, or here's our disabled person, and they're kind of expecting, oh, well done for getting them on. It smacks of, I don't know.
It comes back to the box ticking as well. It's almost like, and here you can see we've done this now.
Yeah.
Box ticks.
Where's my medal?
You've hit the nail on the head. That's what we need to see. We just need to see more incidental portrayal of everybody that lives in our society. You can tell when something's really tokenistic, like, let's say it's a storyline about disability. It will just be about someone's condition and impairment, but there's so much more to us than that. Like, when people try and meet my needs, they only ever come at it from a disability perspective. But what about my cultural needs as a South Asian? What about my needs as a woman? All of that never gets even a look in. And that's why I always say that inclusion has to be intersectional. Like, I can't wake up tomorrow and decide I'm going to leave the fact that I'm a South Asian at the door. My skin is brown and people judge me and treat me a certain way as a result of that. Sometimes positive, sometimes negative, sometimes indifferently. That's the unique way in which I experience the world, and that's who I am. But when we don't see that, when that isn't celebrated, that's why we as disabled people aren't confident. That's why we don't take up space when we need to. It's when we don't know how to. That just all comes back to this point of why representation is so important.
Do you think there is a misperception by the media companies of what their actual audience want? They'll bring on a disabled person, and it's like you said, you don't want to be pigeonholed, but I'm sure you're kind of something's trying to push you towards that.
I think that's the expectation, though, isn't it, of our community? Because people think that that's all we do is wallow in self-pity and just fight an inaccessible society. And like, I do that. I try not to wallow in self-pity, but I definitely fight this inaccessible society. But I do loads of other things as well. From the broadcaster's perspective, they do have quotas, they do have targets. Sometimes they won't get production budget if something isn't diverse, or they do have obligations to meet. So yeah, there are lots of different things that are pulling the strings. If their approach to inclusion is to be as intersectional as possible, then they can't go wrong. I think people are making this a much more complicated thing than it needs to be.
It seems like an unclimbable mountain that you've got to fight against this for the most basic things. And it's almost like it's embedded in the foundations. And when you do get a little bit of, you push in the right direction, you find that it's almost not genuine because it's kind of a tick box or it's tokenism.
I agree.
But how do you change it? Do you think it will ever change to an acceptable point?
That's such a good question. I don't think that in my lifetime I will ever see the change that I'm really trying to create and advocate for. And I've kind of had to come to terms and peace with that.
I spoke to a lady who was from an African country. I can't remember which it was, but she was autistic, and she was saying that where she comes from, she's considered to be like demon possessed, and
exactly
goes into a whole new realm of ableism, I guess, in that you're not just differently abled. You don't just face challenges in certain aspects of your life. What you're actually facing is you're evil, and you've got to be cast out from Satan's grasp as well, which is just like far out,
I was told that I must have done something bad in my past life. That's why I was born with my condition. This was said to me at a really young age, and I sat there and I thought, I wonder what I did then. Was I a murderer? I should never have been made to feel that way.
What kind of guilt would that be to place on a kid?
I felt so guilty. And then I grew up and I was like, F that. Like, I don't even know if I believe in past lives, and I'm having to sit here with the burden of other people saying that to me. Like, that's not cool. But doesn't this just go to show that the more nuanced stories are, the more interesting that they are. And that's why we need much more accurate portrayal of everybody's lives. We have to understand a bit of the history here. So it was illegal to discriminate people on their gender and their ethnicity 20 and 30 years before it was illegal to discriminate people based on disability. We've never been on an equal footing. We've always been playing catch up from the very beginning. And look at the fight that we had just to even get that right, to make that law, the Disability Discrimination Act. So I think we always have to look at where this started and where we came from. Disability has never been a priority issue, even though if you weren't born with a condition, you're a pre-disabled person, because 83% of disabled people were born as non-disabled people. I regularly sit here and think, why are non-disabled people not designing for their own future selves? We don't have good representation of our lives. That everything comes back to representation for me. If we really understood the real lived experiences and lives of disabled people.
It's why the I Matter movement that Disability Expo are putting forward matters so much. I think the message of I Matter is exactly that. It's like, why do we matter? And it's not why do disabled people matter now. It's why do I matter? And like you say, people who are pre-disabled, who, you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. You don't know what accident's going to happen. You don't know what circumstances are going to be presented.
We're a community. If we really want things to change, the change is only going to come when it's seen to benefit everybody.
I think that falls along the realms of don't pull the ladder up once you've got there, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a really good analogy. I love that. Shani, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. Your insights have just been so valuable. I've learned so much just having this brief conversation with you. If people want to reach out to you, where can they do so?
I'm at Shani Dhanda on all socials, and my website is shanidhanda.com.
Fantastic. We'll put the links in the description. You're also going to be at Disability Expo coming
I
up?
am, yeah.
Fantastic. We look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We'll hand back to the rest of us back on the main podcast.
Thank you for that, Shani. I will see you soon. Bearing in mind we have the same agent, it's going to happen. You can't run from me. And on that wonderfully threatening note, it leaves me no other choice but to thank everyone for watching. If you enjoyed it, let us know. If you haven't, keep your opinions to yourself. Oh no, get involved in the comments. Let us know what you think about anything we've said. If you could hit that like and smash that subscribe button, it really helps out with the metrics and gets our message sent further and wider across the multiverse that is the World Wide Web. Chris Lee Smith, if people want to find you and hear more about what you're up to on the old interweb, how can they?
Twitter, The Real Grandad, and I think it's the same for Instagram. I'm getting there with Instagram. I know how to like.
Slowly but surely.
I know how
Learn to like. Wow.
I know how to comment, be warned. Anybody gives me any shit, I can comment back. All right.
Yeah. Anyway, Duncan Casburn, where can people find you on the internet?
PDA.UK on pretty much any social media platform. I've learned to use them.
And Simon, where can people find you? Well, because Elon Musk is a raging. I'm not on Twitter anymore. Hey Elon, do you want to be on our podcast? Account suspended. Just yes or no, Elon. Yes or no. At least buy me dinner now you've got me. Oh, hate him. Okay, that's not what I was expecting, Simon, but okay, recover. And you can find me at Adam_Pearson on Twitter and at Adam_Pearson_TV on the Instagram. And with all that being said, from me, Adam Pearson, from Chris Lee Smith, from Duncan Casburn, and from Simon Sampson, we bid you adieu, farewell, mwah, we love you, and remember, don't be grumpy alone.